Very good afternoon to everyone. First of all, let me thank the organizers of the Congress for inviting me to speak here today. You will notice that there isn't an energy track tomorrow, so this is my only opportunity to speak. And I don't blame them because the Energy Innovation Challenge Directorate was formed only in February this year, so it's a new outfit, a fairly new animal. And it also means that we haven't done much work, so fortunately there's no track tomorrow, I have nothing to report. Okay. Right. I've titled this The Challenges of Powering a Small Island. What's wrong with this picture? It needs energy. And that's the challenge that we are facing. The National Research Foundation is responsible for promoting research and development in Singapore. It's not an executing agency, it's a funding agency. In planning for the next 5 years from 2010 to 2015, the NRF 2015 plan adopted 2 key thrusts. The first thrust, strengthening of the RIA Foundation, is to build on the work that has been done in the first 5 years of NRF's formation and also in the previous 20 years of Singapore's focus on R&D. The second thrust is the National Innovation Challenge, working on the premise that we should be able to leverage on this significant base of R&D in Singapore to solve challenges that are important to Singapore and that are also relevant to the global challenges. And the first challenge that was identified is energy. Why do we focus on energy? The fact is that our economy is highly dependent on energy. The pie chart shows 60% of our energy consumption goes to industry, and then another large chunk to transport and buildings. So the growth of our country and the competitiveness of the country depends on energy. Secondly, energy generation in the form of electricity is highly dependent on one main commodity. 81% of our electricity generation is from gas, so we are vulnerable to disruptions to this one particular commodity. That does not augur well for energy resilience. What does this mean? It means we are very vulnerable to rising oil prices. As you can see from the chart, oil prices have been rising inexorably, interrupted briefly by the financial crisis, and have gone back up to $100 a barrel. This rise in oil prices is driven by 2 key factors. Firstly, the large, giant developing countries of the world, China and India, are growing very rapidly. As I've said, energy is important to growth, and these countries are using lots of energy in the quest for growth in the rate they're going in the double digits for the last few years, and it will continue for some time to come. The second thing is, and I'm very fortunate that Mr. Peter Schwartz is not here because he disagrees with this, the threat of declining oil production. Peak oil is a theory that was propounded by a certain gentleman called Hubert, and he predicted in 1956 that oil production in the United States will peak in 1970, and he was proven correct. Now, the idea of peak oil now is to extend this theory which worked in the US to the rest of the world. Now, it is controversial, but the important thing to remember is that the fact is people have done projections and they are predicting a peak in our oil production. There will continue to be oil reserves, but production will decline because oil is getting harder and harder to get out of the ground. Whether this is true or not, the very threat that oil production is going to slow down itself will drive up prices. And of course, there's climate change. The fact is that with carbon dioxide emissions continuing to grow, anthropogenic climate change is going to continue to affect us, and increasingly you will see those effects that we've talked about. So the fact is, sooner or later, countries are going to have to do something about carbon emissions, whether through a carbon tax or through cap and trade, some form of regime, which is going to cost us. So we have adopted the National Innovation Challenge for Energy, called Energy Resilience for Sustainable Growth. The point here is to develop cost-competitive energy solutions for deployment within 20 years to help Singapore improve energy efficiency, reduce carbon emissions, and increase our energy options. So these are the three key thrusts of the Energy National Innovation Challenge. If you break down the three thrusts, they fall into two main groups. Firstly, the top half is about demand. It's about the sectors that use energy and how to make them more efficient and how to reduce their carbon emissions. The lower half, it's about supply, it's about options. What are the other forms of energy that we can use to supply our needs besides fossil fuels like oil and gas? So in our approach, we adopt an integrated process and we seek high impact and implementable solutions in order to achieve a resilient energy future. What do you mean by integrated process? The whole of government actually has many efforts in energy research. Most of your main stat boards, LTA, BCA, NEA, EMA, all have research programs that are focused on energy. The industry is also waking up to the potential of the clean energy market, which is growing tremendously. And of course, the universities are also focusing on this area of research. So the challenge now is to get the NIC to focus the efforts of all of these different parties towards a national challenge. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to achieve high impact and implementable solutions. We do this at two levels. One, at the component technology level, we want technologies that will make a high impact and along the way build up the industrial capabilities to implement it. We also recognize that systems require solutions at many levels and many different component technologies may be involved and may also involve economic and social systems as well. So for example, for technological breakthroughs, I've chosen as an example the US Sunshot program, which aims to produce energy from photovoltaic cells at $1 per watt, $1 per watt. And they recognize that they will need transformational technologies in a range of areas like modules, balance of system, and the power electronics. New industrial capabilities is best exemplified by water. Because of our quest for water security, we have built up companies and industries to service this particular area, and they have then gone on to sell their products worldwide. In terms of sectors, here's an example from the sectoral of industry. Jurong Island has a lot of carbon dioxide producers, and it has petrochemical industries that need carbon dioxide. If you could close the loop by finding a low-cost, low-energy penalty solution to carbon capture and utilization, you can create a closed-loop living lab in Jurong Island. There are also technologies that cut across various sectors. The smart grid has been mentioned, and it cuts across intermittent power from solar cells, the charging of electric vehicles, as well as the provision of feedback and data to users so that they can alter the demand in response to the price of electricity. So through all these efforts, we hope to achieve reductions in carbon intensity, increase in energy efficiency, and more options for Singapore. And this will eventually lead to cost savings and economic benefits, and hence resilience in energy as well as sustainable growth for Singapore. We will focus on three main things: research that has high impact on the three goals, the innovativeness of the ideas, as well as things that convey a competitive advantage to Singapore, things that we can do, because the rest of the world is also working on energy. We will also work our way through the entire technology cycle. We will be seeking technological breakthroughs at the basic and applied science level, test bedding things that are out there ready to be prototyped, as well as looking at the other end where solutions are ready for implementation and commercialization. We will be looking both from the top and from the bottom. From the top down, we are embarking on a technology roadmap to look for a way towards the goals that we've set for ourselves. At the same time, we leave things open for industry, for academia, to propose solutions that we have not thought about. And these ideas will not only solve the immediate problems that we have, but will also keep our technology roadmaps focused on the newest things. So I have just a couple of examples. Firstly, in the area of buildings. Building is the example of a sector multiple technologies are necessary to make a building more efficient. So they cover things like cooling, intelligent buildings, and power generation from building itself. And we expect this sort of sectoral roadmap would see incremental goals as we move towards our target. It's not responding. Can I have the next slide? Oops. Okay, here's an example of a particular technology. One technology is needed to make Jurong Island a living lab. So what we are looking for is a breakthrough, but this breakthrough will probably be at the basic science level, and then you need to mature it through test bedding, prototyping, and implementation. So finally, NRF, as I said, does not perform research. We're a funding agency. The solutions lies out there. It lies in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Manheng.